That night, they put something in my chamomile tea. I woke up on a pallet in the fruit cellar, the old brick room under the house where my grandmama used to store figs and muscadine wine. The door at the top of the stairs was padlocked from the outside. There was a bucket for a toilet, one jug of water, and a box of saltine crackers. Antoine's voice floated down through the floorboards. 11 days, Mama. That's how long the doctor said it takes for dehydration to kill an old woman. You change your mind, you just holler. We'll hear you. Then the light clicked off. Good evening, my darlings. Come on in. Pull up a chair. Let Mama Delphine pour you something sweet. If this story touches even one corner of your heart tonight, do me a small kindness. Hit that like button, drop your city in the comments, and tap subscribe so we can sit together again next Thursday. I'm counting on y'all. My name is Delphine Marie LeBlanc. I am 76 years old, born and raised in the 6th Ward of New Orleans in a little pink shotgun house my daddy built with his own 2 hands in 1949. I buried my husband Estienne in 2009, raised 3 children by myself on a nurse anesthetist salary, put every last one of them through college, and never asked the world for 1 red cent. And on the morning of August 14th, 2025, my youngest son, Antoine, locked me in the fruit cellar underneath this very house and left me there to die so he could sell my home for $500,000 cash to pay his gambling debts. This is the story of those 11 days in the dark, and of the morning the basement door finally opened and the light that walked in wasn't from heaven, it was from hell itself, wearing a 3-piece suit and carrying my salvation in his hands. You can't understand the betrayal unless you understand the love that came before it. This little pink house on North Dorgenoy Street has 12-foot ceilings, heart pine floors, and a transom above the front door that my SDN painted the color of a robin's egg the week before he died. Every brick in the courtyard wall was laid by my daddy's hands. Every camellia bush was planted the year each of my babies was born. I bought this house outright in 1987 with the life insurance money when the hospital tried to say SDN's cancer was pre-existent. I marched into that insurance office with my nurse's cap still pinned to my head and told them, my husband paid y'all every month for 22 years. You will pay me every dime or I will sit in this lobby until Jesus comes. They paid. That deed has my name on it, alone. Delphine Marie LeBlanc, in fee simple, free and clear, recorded at the Orleans Parish Clerk of Court on March 3, 1987. I kept the original in a fireproof box under my bed and a certified copy in the safety deposit box at Liberty Bank. Antoine knew that. He had seen me open that box 1,000 times. But greed makes people forget what fear taught them as children. The son I didn't raise. Antoine was my baby, my surprise baby, born when I was 41 and the doctor said my womb was closed for business. I named him Antoine Etienne LeBlanc, after his daddy's name and mine combined. He was beautiful, skin like cafe au lait, eyes the color of river moss after the rain. He could sing before he could talk right, and every Sunday he stood next to me in the choir at St. Augustine with his little robe dragging the floor. But somewhere along the way, the music stopped. By 25, he was running with the wrong crowd in Baton Rouge, gambling on riverboats, writing hot checks, calling mama crying at 2 a.m. needing bail money. Every time I paid, every time I told myself, this is the last time. In 2023, he came home with a woman named Brittany, bottle blind, nails long enough to open envelopes, voice like a squeaky gate. 3 months later, they were married at the courthouse. I wasn't invited. That should have been my first clue. But a mother's heart is a foolish thing. The day the lock clicked shut, it was a Wednesday. I remember because Miss Clara across the street was pressure washing her gallery and the smell of bleach drifted all the way into my kitchen. Antoine and Brittany had been staying with me for 6 weeks, just until we get on our feet, Mama. I was frying catfish, humming old Mahalia, when Antoine walked in holding a stack of papers. Mama, we found a buyer for the house, he said, real casual, like he was asking to borrow $20. Cash offer, $500,000. We can close in 30 days. I turned the fire off under the skillet. Baby, this house is not for sale. He smiled the same smile he used at 6 years old when he broke my good vase and tried to blame the dog. It's actually perfect timing, he went on. Brittany's pregnant. We need a bigger place up in Houston. You can move into senior living. We already picked one out. It's got a pool and everything. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Antoine, I am not moving nowhere. This is my home. His face changed. The little boy's smile disappeared, and something cold slid in behind his eyes. Then we got a problem, he said. That night, they put something in my chamomile tea. I woke up on a pallet in the fruit cellar, the old brick room under the house where my grandmama used to store figs and muscadine wine. The door at the top of the stairs was padlocked from the outside. There was a bucket for a toilet, 1 jug of water, and a box of saltine crackers. Antoine's voice floated down through the floorboards. 11 days, Mama. That's how long the doctor said it takes for dehydration to kill an old woman. You change your mind, you just holler. We'll hear you. Then he clicked the light off. 11 days of darkness. I won't make you live every hour with me. Some things are too dark even for storytelling. But I will tell you this. Day 1, I screamed until my throat bled. Day 3, I started rationing the crackers, licking each one slow so it would last. Day 5, the rats came. I sang hymns to keep them back. Day 8, I started talking to Etienne out loud, told him everything I never got to say at the cemetery. Day 10, I was down to my last swallow of water when I remembered the burner phone. It was in the old nursing bag I kept under the stairs, the one with the faded red cross I carried during Hurricane Katrina when we turned the Superdome into a MASH unit. I crawled on my belly through the dark, broken glass cutting my knees until my fingers closed around cracked leather. The phone was a 2009 flip phone, the kind with actual buttons. I had kept it charged every Easter, just in case. 1 bar of signal. Battery at 4%. I dialed the only number I still knew by heart, the private cell of a man I hadn't spoken to in 34 years. He answered on the 2nd ring. Judge LeBlanc, I whispered into the dark. It's Delphine. They locked me in my own basement. I don't know how many days I got left. There was a pause so long I thought the phone died. Then a voice like aged bourbon and thunder. 11 days, you said? Hold on, Cher. I'm coming. The screen went black, but for the first time in 10 days, I smiled. The phone call I never forgot. You don't get to be a trauma nurse in New Orleans for 40 years without saving a few important lives. In 1991, a young state representative named Julian Malveaux was brought into Charity Hospital with 3 bullets in his chest after a carjacking gone wrong. I was the charge nurse that night. When the surgeon said, "We're losing him," I looked that boy in his eyes and said, "Not on my shift." I held his heart in my gloved hands while we cracked his chest in the trauma bay. He coded twice, came back twice. He never forgot my face. 34 years later, he is the Honorable Julian Malveaux, Chief Judge of the Louisiana Supreme Court and the most feared man in Baton Rouge politics. And he was on his way. I don't know if I slept or passed out. In the dark, there's no difference. What I do know is the exact minute the first police cruiser rolled up, 3:07 a.m. on the 11th night. I heard it because the floorboards above me vibrated like the house itself was breathing again. Then came the boots. Heavy, many, running. Then the shouting. Not Antoine's voice, not Brittany's. State troopers, Orleans Parish SWAT. Somebody with authority that made my son's name sound small. Then the most beautiful sound I ever heard in my life. The metallic scream of a Halligan bar biting into the padlock on the basement door. The lock gave with a gunshot crack. Light poured down the stairs like gold and honey. A young black officer in tactical gear was the first face I saw. He took one look at me, 76 years old, covered in filth, bones showing through my skin, and tears just rolled down his cheeks like a baby. "Ma'am, Miss Delphine," he choked out. "Judge Malveaux said to tell you the cavalry's here." Behind them, 2 more officers carried a stretcher and blankets. They wrapped me like I was made of spun sugar. I remember asking, real calm, "Where's my boy?" The young officer's jaw tightened. "Upstairs, ma'am, in cuffs, screaming about lawyers." I smiled then, couldn't help it. The man in the white linen suit. They brought me up those stairs slow, one step at a time, because my legs had forgotten how to carry weight. The living room looked like a war zone. Antoine was face down on my mama's Persian rug, wrists zip-tied, still wearing the same Saints t-shirt he had on when he locked me down there. Brittany was on the couch sobbing into a detective's notepad. And in the middle of it all stood Judge Julian Malveaux. He was 70 now, hair snow white, but still tall and ramrod straight in a crisp white linen suit, like he'd just come from jazz brunch instead of dragging hell behind him at 3 in the morning. When he saw me, he took off his Panama hat and held it over his heart like we were at a funeral. Then he crossed the room in 4 strides and went down on one knee right there on my heart pine floor. "Miss Delphine," he said, voice cracking for the first time in 34 years. "I am so sorry I didn't get here sooner." I reached out with my bony hand and touched his cheek. "Baby, you got here on the 11th day. That's the day the Lord rested. You're right on time." He cried then. Big, quiet tears that soaked into my hospital gown. Then he stood up, turned to the room full of police, and the temperature dropped 20 degrees. "Captain," he said, calm as Sunday morning, "I want every charge you can think of. Attempted murder, elder abuse, kidnapping, false imprisonment, theft by fraud. And when you're done, call the DA and tell him I said add felony stupid, because that's what this is." Antoine started screaming from the floor. "Mama, tell him it was just a misunderstanding. I was gonna let you out, I swear." I looked down at my only son, the child I carried for 9 months and nursed through colic and chicken pox and every heartbreak life threw at him. And I said the sentence that broke whatever was left of his soul. "Antoine Etienne LeBlanc," I told him, slow and clear so every officer could hear, "you stop being my son the day you put that lock on that door." Then I turned my back on him. Forever. Judgment Day in my own living room. They kept me in the hospital for 9 days. Dehydration, malnutrition, infection from the rat bites, kidney failure that almost took me. Every morning, Judge Malmo sat in the vinyl chair beside my bed in a different colored suit, reading me the newspaper like we were old friends catching up on porch gossip. On the ninth day, he walked in carrying a thick manila envelope and a slice of Dauberge cake from Debbie on the bayou. "It's time to finish this, Miss Delphine," he said. He opened the envelope and laid 3 documents on my tray table like they were the 10 Commandments. 1. A new deed, transferring the house from my name into an irrevocable trust with the condition that I live in it rent-free for the rest of my natural life. Then it passes to the Treme Cultural Foundation to become a home for retired Black nurses. Antoine and Brittany's names appear nowhere. 2. A restraining order, 500 yards permanent. If they ever set foot on North Dorganor Street again, they go straight to Angola.
3. Certified copies of the arrest report, attempted murder in the first degree, with a bond set at $1 million cash. Antoine wasn't getting out anytime soon. I signed the trust papers with a shaky left hand. Then I looked up at Julian. "One more thing, baby," I said. "Anything," he answered. "I want my dining room table back, the one my daddy built in 1952. They sold it on Facebook Marketplace while I was in that basement." He smiled like a wolf. "Already in the trunk of my car, Cher, wrapped in quilts so not one scratch." Epilogue. Red beans on Monday, freedom on Tuesday. It's been 3 months now. The house smells like lemon oil and fresh coffee again. Miss Clara across the street brings me a plate every Sunday after church. My church choir comes on Wednesdays, and we sing until the windows fog. Antoine's trial is set for March. The prosecutor says with the photos, the 911 recordings, the neighbors finally admitted they heard, and my hospital records, he's looking at 25 to life. Brittany took a plea, 5 years probation and permanent disbarment from ever working in healthcare again. Turns out she was a nursing assistant who lost her license years ago. And every morning when I wake up, I walk out on my gallery in my housecoat, water my camellias, and look at the new brass plaque the Cultural Foundation put by the front steps. The Delphine Marie LeBlanc House, a sanctuary for retired nurses of New Orleans, open 2025. She kept the door open for others. Now we keep it open for her. Sometimes the young nurses come sit with me and ask me how I survived 11 days in the dark. I tell them the truth. I survived because I remembered who I was before I was anybody's mama. I was Delphine Marie, daughter of the 6th Ward, keeper of the keys, and nobody, not even my own child, gets to take my name from me.
So if you're listening tonight and somebody you love has locked you in some kind of basement, money, guilt, shame, fear, hear me loud and clear. You still got the key, baby. It's been in your hand the whole time. Use it. Walk up those stairs, and when you do, leave the door open behind you so the next woman knows she can make it out too. This is Delphine Marie LeBlanc, signing off from North Dorganor Street, where the red beans are on the stove, the sun is shining through my transom, and not one soul in this world will ever lock this door on me again. If this story helped you even a little, do 3 things for Mama Delphine tonight. Hit that like button so YouTube shows it to one more sister who needs it. Drop your city in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe and ring that bell because next Thursday we got another one coming.